awesome tips on how to get better at understanding your Google Analytics data. Number one is that when you're looking at time series and trends over time, like we have right here, you need to be careful about looking at it on a daily basis. I know that Google Analytics defaults to day regardless to what you're doing, but looking at a day in a longer time period like this can lead to excitement or worries about the data, where in reality, when you look at the trend over a longer time period, you have nothing to worry about or nothing to be excited about. So in this example, you may see that there's like a few spikes and get super excited that, wow, what did we do on those certain days, which is like sometimes worth looking into, but most of the time not. When we look on a weekly or a monthly basis, when we're taking a big time period, that's where it gets more useful. That's where we can see some major changes in things like e-commerce conversion rate, which fluctuates on a day-to-day basis, but the big changes that you really care about are on some longer time periods. So that's tip number one. Tip number two is that you should always consider segmenting. Google Analytics makes segments available to you that are pre-built, and so regardless to how fancy your implementation is, you have information that can really make a difference when you're looking at these things. So an example is something like converters and non-converters. This is one of my favorite pairs to look at. So when I'm looking at behavioral data and audience and acquisition, it can tell you a lot about what's happening with your traffic and what's happening on your site, and what are the characteristics of somebody who is going to be a spender or a big spender versus somebody who doesn't spend at all. And then tip number three, because this is taking forever to load, so I don't know if I'll actually get to show you, but you know where it is because I just clicked on it. Is that you should find an analytics resource that you really trust and listen to them when they tell you what they interpret the data to be. Sometimes it's easy to look at something in the data as a non-data expert and make conclusions. I would always remain with an open mind when an analyst comes to you and tells you something a bit different. All right, thanks. Those are my 3 tips for today.